Hello everyone, and welcome to How-FixIT. If your iPhone frame is bent or badly damaged, the buttons don't sit right, or you want a full housing replacement to restore a solid fit and clean structure, this video is for you. In this guide, I'll show you how to fully disassemble the iPhone Air, transfer every internal component into a new housing step by step, and reassemble it properly so you can complete the repair with confidence. To complete this repair, you'll need a precision screwdriver set, plastic pry tools, tweezers, a suction cup, and a screen disassembly tool, which are all essential for safely opening an iPhone. You'll need a 9-volt battery with 2 wires and clamps to remove the battery. To restore water resistance, you'll also need adhesive sealing tape. I've included links to all the tools and replacement parts in the video description below. For the best results, I highly recommend using a magnetic mat to organize screws and small parts during disassembly. The iPhone Air has dozens of screws in different sizes, and a magnetic mat keeps everything secure and helps you put each screw back in the correct place during reassembly. Alright, let's get started. First, power off your iPhone and remove the 2 screws next to the USB-C port. Next, warm the bottom edge of the back glass for about 2 minutes. To warm it up, use a regular hair dryer. Heat the bottom edge until it feels slightly warm to the touch. This softens the waterproof adhesive and makes the phone much easier to open. Place a suction cup near the bottom edge of the back glass and pull up to create a small gap between the glass and the frame. Slide a thin blade into that gap, then begin separating the adhesive along the edge. Keep the back glass warm as you work your way around the perimeter. Warm adhesive releases far more easily. At the top edge, the back glass is held by 2 hinges. When you reach them, push the back glass slightly downward to release the hinges. Now open the iPhone, but don't rush. The back glass is still connected to the logic board by a cable. Remove the screws securing the brackets over the battery and wireless charging coil connector. Disconnect the charging coil and battery cable, then remove the back glass from the iPhone. I recommend covering the camera lens with a protective sticker to keep dust and debris off the glass while you work. If you don't have one, just be extra careful and avoid touching the lens. On the iPhone Air, the battery is secured with electrically released adhesive, so you'll need a 9-volt battery with 2 wires and clamps to remove it safely. Using tweezers, gently peel back the silver adhesive tabs on the battery. Connect the red wire to the positive terminal and the black wire to the negative terminal of the 9-volt battery. Clip the red lead to the silver adhesive tab on the battery. Then clip the black lead to a good ground point, ideally the lower right grounding screw on the bottom speaker, since it's the most reliable connection and the one I recommend. Or you can also hold the black connector against the metal bracket. Hold a steady connection for at least 60 seconds. About 90 seconds is recommended for the most reliable release. If either clip slips or disconnects, reattach both clips and restart the timer. The connection must stay solid for the adhesive to release. Next, connect the red lead to the second silver adhesive tab on the battery. If your black lead is already clipped to the grounding screw near the bottom speaker, leave it there, no need to move it. Hold the connection for 60 to 90 seconds, then use a suction cup to gently lift the battery and remove it from the case. If the battery doesn't release, the most common causes are an unstable 9-volt source, the battery may be weak and needs replacing, or poor contact between the adhesive tabs and your wire clamps. Remove the screw securing the connector bracket, then disconnect the 2 ribbon cables and lift out the Face ID module. Remove the 2 screws securing the Earpiece speaker, then remove the speaker. Next, remove the screws securing the rear camera module, disconnect its cable, and lift the camera out of the iPhone. Disconnect all cables from the logic board, then remove the screws securing the board to the frame. Carefully lift the logic board, but don't remove it yet. Flip it over, remove the screws securing the connector cover, and disconnect the 2 display cables. Now you can lift the logic board out of the iPhone. Remove the screws securing the 2 metal brackets and the Taptic Engine. Disconnect the Taptic Engine cable and remove the module. Remove all screws securing the USB-C port flex cable to the chassis, then carefully peel it off the frame and remove it. Next, remove the remaining modules, flex cables, and antenna assemblies from the chassis. To remove the volume and action button flex cable, unscrew the two mounting screws, peel the flex away from the frame, then remove the additional screws securing the button mechanism. Lift out the entire flex cable assembly. This cable includes the button mechanisms, so replacing it fixes non-working buttons. Carefully peel the flex away from the chassis, then remove all screws securing it. Disconnect the small camera control contact lead from the main button flex. Do this slowly to avoid tearing the cable. Now remove the side button and camera control button flex cable. Finally, let's remove the display from the housing. To protect the display cable during separation, reinstall the back cover first. Using a standard hairdryer, heat the bottom edge of the display for 60 to 90 seconds at about 90 degrees Celsius, 194 degrees Fahrenheit. Place a suction cup near the bottom edge and pull up to create a small gap. Slide a thin blade into the gap and begin separating the adhesive along the edge. Keep the display warm as you work around the perimeter. Warm adhesive releases much more easily. The screen is tightly glued to the frame, so apply steady, even pressure as you go. At the top edge, the display is held by two hinges. When you reach them, push the display slightly downward to release the hinges. Now you can lift the display away from the iPhone. If your iPhone's housing is cracked, bent, or badly scratched, or if the back glass won't sit flush and you're seeing gaps around the frame, replacing the full chassis will fix the problem. I've included a link to a compatible iPhone Air chassis in the video description below. Now, you know how to replace any component or faulty module in your phone. For your convenience, I've also included links to all replacement parts for the iPhone Air. Before you start reassembly, I recommend taking a short break. It helps you stay focused and precise during the final steps. Alright, before we assemble the iPhone Air completely, here are the most important notes, especially if this is your first chassis replacement. First, screw control is everything. iPhone Air uses multiple screw lengths, and you must put the exact screw back into the exact hole. If you install a long screw where a short one belongs, you can damage the component and permanently kill functions. Use a magnetic mat or a labeled tray, start every screw by hand, and tighten only until it's snug. Never over-tighten. Next, keep every connector and camera area dust-free. Before you reconnect anything, use a blower to remove dust from the logic board connectors, the camera area, and inside the frame. Don't blow with your mouth. Moisture is a corrosion risk. If a connector looks dirty, clean it gently with 99% isopropyl alcohol and let it fully dry. Flex cable routing is another big one. Route every flex exactly like the original factory layout. Don't improvise and don't force cables into place. Make sure every flex sits flat with no sharp bends, and never trap a cable under a shield, bracket, or speaker. Pinched flex cables are one of the top reasons phones have random issues after a housing swap. When you reconnect press-fit connectors, align them perfectly and press straight down until you feel a click. Never press at an angle and never slide the connector into place. If it doesn't click easily, stop, lift it, realign, and try again. Forcing it is how pins get bent. After that, watch your shields and brackets. Every metal shield must sit completely flush before you install screws. If a shield won't sit flat, there's probably a flex cable underneath it. Don't force it, open it back up, and reroute the cable. Also pay attention to buttons and small brackets. Before you fully close the phone, quickly check that all buttons click normally and that no flex cable is twisted or under tension. Don't forget antennas and grounding points. Weak signal, Wi-Fi problems, or GPS issues after reassembly are often caused by a missed antenna, spring contact, a coax connector that isn't fully snapped in, or a missing grounding screw. Make sure every antenna contact touches the frame and every coax connector is fully seated. Now, battery safety. The battery is always disconnected first during disassembly, and it should be connected last during reassembly. Seat and connect all other flex cables first, then connect the battery at the end. And if you accidentally connect the battery early, disconnect it again before you plug or unplug anything else. And most importantly, don't fully seal it until you do a quick function test. Boot the phone before applying adhesive and test charging, touch and display, earpiece and loudspeaker, microphones with a voice memo, front and rear cameras, flash, vibration, and Wi-Fi and cellular signal if possible. If something doesn't work, it's usually a connector not fully seated or a flex routed incorrectly. Once everything checks out, clean the old adhesive from the frame, apply new sealing tape, and close the phone evenly. Remember, new adhesive helps with dust and moisture protection, but it won't guarantee factory waterproofing after repair. Finally, do a last inspection. If you have leftover screws, that's a red flag. Check the edges for gaps, and if the phone won't close flush, don't clamp harder. Open it and find what's blocking, because it's almost always a misseated part or a pinched cable. Alright, now that you know the common mistakes to avoid, let's finish reassembly. Place the battery back into the iPhone housing and route the cable so the connector lines up cleanly with the logic board socket. If the battery's electroadhesion tape is still in good condition, you can reuse it. If it's damaged, I've included a link to replacement adhesive tape in the video description below. Reconnect the back glass cable and the battery cable to the logic board, then power on the iPhone to test that everything works properly. After the first boot, check basic functions such as Face ID, the display, and the touchscreen. If you replaced any modules such as the display, battery, front or rear camera, open Settings, then select General, and then the About section. Look for parts and service history, open it, and follow the calibration prompts. Next, test the cameras and flash, along with wireless features like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Check the speakers and every microphone using voice memos, plus both front and rear-facing video. Test the buttons and vibration, the charging port, and wireless charging. If you notice gaps, dust in the camera, a weak signal, or anything not working properly, reopen the iPhone and reseat the connectors, reroute the flex cables, and make sure the correct screws and brackets are installed. Once testing is complete, let's restore water resistance. I recommend covering the camera lens with a protective sticker to keep dust and debris off the glass. If you don't have one, just be extra careful and avoid touching the lens while you work. Remove all of the old adhesive from the iPhone frame. We'll replace it with new waterproof sealing tape to restore dust and moisture protection. Just keep in mind this won't bring the phone back to factory water resistance, so it's best not to submerge it after the repair. If you don't have new adhesive tape ready, it's better to leave the old tape in place until you're prepared to replace it. Carefully align the new adhesive along the edges of the frame and make sure it sits evenly all the way around. Press it down around the entire perimeter using a plastic tool so it bonds securely. Then peel off the protective liner to expose the adhesive surface and continue with reassembly. Before installing the back panel, use an air blower to remove any dust from the components and the surrounding area. Reconnect the wireless charging coil and battery cables to the logic board, then reinstall the brackets and secure them with the screws. Remove the protective sticker from the camera lens and use the blower one more time to clear any dust around the camera area. Now close the iPhone and press lightly along the edges of the back cover to ensure a tight fit. Then move on to gluing the display. Remove the old adhesive tape from the iPhone's front frame, just as you did on the back. Use isopropyl alcohol to remove any remaining adhesive. Also remove any old waterproof adhesive from the display frame. Carefully align the new adhesive with the frame edges to ensure proper placement. Press down around the entire perimeter with a plastic spudger to secure it firmly. Once it's in place, peel off the top liner to expose the adhesive. Reconnect the display and sensor connectors, reinstall the bracket, and tighten the screws. Press gently along the screen edges to ensure a snug seal, then reinstall the 2 screws near the charging port to complete the assembly. If you found this guide helpful, give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more tech tips and guides. Visit our website for more insights and do-it-yourself guides. Remember, every tech challenge is an opportunity to learn and grow. Thanks for watching How Fix It, and we'll see you in the next one.